brain dead on the issue of politics, it's absolutely frightening.
And they have the mentality, Adrian, where they think, well, I don't need to worry about it. Somebody else is going to do it.
Yeah. Look, this is amazing. I was at church last week, and I was talking to a man, a really nice man. And he said to me, well, he says, I'm very conservative. He says, I always vote Republican. And I almost had to laugh. I didn't say anything nasty to him. I said, isn't it interesting, I said, that the Republicans are carrying out the mandates of the Democrats, and the Democrats are not in power. He says, what do you mean? I said, well, we have the biggest deficit in history. He says, I said, we have the biggest trade deficit in history. We have our rights being stripped away by things like the Patriot Act. He said, oh, the Patriot Act is wonderful. I was dumbfounded. This is not a stupid man, and he's a good man. Mm-hmm. He probably votes this way because his father voted that way, or maybe his mother, People don't even look at issues.
I know this is true, and that makes the situation, Adrian, all the worse, because
it does.
The people like us and my listeners and people you speak to, they know better. But we are just a small band of people, and I don't know how we're going to get out there and stop them. I don't know if we can stop them. I do know that we are enslaved. I know it's going to get worse. We're going to have to make this decision very soon about whether or not we will accept the chip in order to live.
When I was in college, and I had a professor, a philosophy professor, and I really liked him. We got along very, very well. And I didn't do well in college at all because I was too contrary and it was too boring. But he told me something that's always stuck with me, and that is absolutely the perfect truth. He said, look, Adrian, the world is full of people, and of all of those people, 96% haven't got a clue as to what the heck is going on. 3% of the people know what's going on but do nothing about it. And the rest of the people know what's going on and do something about it, and that's not enough.
Yep.
And that's the situation. Heck, I would love to sell of my abali or money. I'd love to sell 100,000 books, because then I would know that it would have a real impact. But these people control the book-selling sources. They control book distribution. They control if and when a book will be reviewed. I've written, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 books dealing basically with these types of issues. I have never succeeded of getting one of these books reviewed by any major newspaper.
Well, let me just kind of enrich what you just said, because I write about the same thing. I mean, I also write novels, and I put those situations in novels. But A, all the media in the world, the mainstream media, are owned by the elite, so they're not going to pick up these kind of books. B, I have 16 books out there, and some are by traditional houses. But I'm going to tell you what, Adrian, it's very difficult to even get published today, especially if they know your stance on the media, and they know that you know, and you're writing about the fact that the elite are in control. I mean, so how do we get these books out? In order to get into a big chain store, and you know this, you have to have a big publishing house behind you, and you have to have their distribution system, which determines what they will show bookstore managers to buy.
Well, we have a moment left. I wrote a book called Our Political Systems, and it deals primarily with countries that have two-party political systems. I brought it out 3 months before The Last Presidential Race. It is a really well-written book. It's an excellent book. I thought, heck, I bring this out just before the election. People will read this book, and they will find out how the elections are run, who owns the Presidential Debating Commission, and all of that stuff, everything. Do you know that book was blacklisted? Mm-hmm. This is really interesting. I sold almost immediately when the book came out about 50 or 60 books in Washington, D.C. Within 3 days after that, the book was blacklisted with every distribution channel in the United States. They blocked that. I could not get a book review any place. I couldn't do anything to get that book out to the public to let them know it was there, except, by mailing out flyers myself or on my own site. So they control book distribution completely.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Absolutely. And they control what's going to be published. That's why PODs, print on demands, came into existence. But, I feel many times the frustration of we are banging our heads against the wall. But I honestly believe that if we all got together and did something, maybe they would listen to us. I don't know. But
well, we can certainly try.
Let me ask you this. Now, I know you're a Christian man, so let me ask you this. Do you think that the Illuminati are making prophecy come true, or do you think it is fulfilling its natural course?
Well, I think that there's what does the Mason call it? The great architect of the universe, and I think he's the guiding thing behind this, and he, the devil does what the devil does, but the devil in the end is going to lose, isn't he?
Well, certainly the Lord is going to be victorious.
There you go.
What do you see coming up real soon here?
Well, I think the next thing that's going to happen is the collapse of the dollar. I think the dollar is, we know last month, as of the 20th of last month, the M3 money supply is not being reported on any longer. Right. We also know, I have confirmed by 7 different sources that the United States Treasury Department was astounded when the Federal Reserve System requested the printing up of $2 trillion in greenbacks. If this is indeed the case, with the $2 trillion in new paper, they will immediately devalue the dollar by 50%. The rumors, a rumor like that spreads very rapidly. And we already know that Iran will not take dollars anymore for oil. You have to pay them in euros. And I don't think it'll be long before everybody else will say, hey, wait a minute, these guys are fooling around here. They're not telling us what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And, we know what the eventual result of that will be.
Yes, it'll be the total collapse.